Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. Really appreciate you coming out here today to discuss, to hear from all the speakers and also share your inputs. Uh, GCCs are seriously contributing to the country's economy, and globally to the Fortune 5,000 companies and beyond, right? A lot is being added by the GCC ecosystem here in India. And today we are here to discuss what are nitty-gritties, what are some of the issues or challenges that these GCCs face, and how adequately the GCCs are contributing to the global growth, right? So that being the context, I have a very strong panel today, almost about 7 of us. So I will not invest a lot of time in building the context, and would like to dive directly into the theme of today's discussion. So, tech-driven engines of reinvention, GCCs really are, and if you look at how GCCs were, there are GCCs like Bosch and others in India which are very, very old. And GCs have evolved from, just being a back office support center to, really owning and driving innovation. This is the third leg of GCC Summit that we are holding here in India. First one was way back in May in Bangalore and then in Hyderabad, and now we are here in Delhi. And, I had a panelist who kind of shared his inputs in the first leg. He used to work for an R&D center. Fresh graduates from IITs joined an R&D center. It was a GCC. And the kind of work that he was doing was, mostly support function or some analysis, some work here and there. And fresh IIT graduate, he had aspirations. So he asked his manager, I think I work for an R&D center. Why am I not getting any R&D work? So the manager actually kind of explained him, and I'm talking about 25 years ago, that yes, this is R&D center, and the full form of R&D is repair and destroy. So ladies and gentlemen, that was 25 years ago, and today if I was to talk about what's happening, NatWest, actually the India-based GCC, developed 100 plus AI use cases and deployed in the market, from fraud detection to chatbots, all done in India. Microsoft India Development Center in Noida developed AI features for their Office suite, which are used globally in Office, MS Office. So that's all which has changed over these 25 years. And with that context, my first question that I wanted to take to my esteemed panelists, who are also practitioners in many ways, how has the role of GCCs evolved from back office support functions to driving innovation and digital strategies? And may I come to you, Sushant, to kick off this discussion?
So thank you. So we are a new age GCC. We started 3 years back, and our journey has been pretty unique in itself. So we talk about back office to front office or back office to innovation-led GCCs. The first team that we set up in our GCC was AI and data science. That's how our journey has started. In 3 years, we grew from 50 to 3,000 plus people, and that has been a pretty remarkable growth that we have seen in last 3 years. We are a Fortune 200 company, operate in 31 different countries and territories. We are a fuel and a retail convenience company based out of Canada. We are a Canadian listed organization. But what has led this transformation, because I have been in this industry for like 1.5 decades plus, so it's the people. The depth of a talent has actually let this transformation happen in this industry. Given Mukesh has told me not to be bookish and to be more practical, so I'll still say there's a long way to go. And we, as a change maker, as a leader, we also need to evolve with our mindset and thought process as well, because we have not even started, in my opinion, in this journey of innovation driven and coming out of that back office mindset. I'll tell you a very recent example. So I was meeting to a couple of people in the morning, and people asked me who you are, what's your name? And I talked about me that, hey, I'm Sushant and I'm from Circle K. The next question is what Circle K does. And I explained what Circle K does. Imagine the follow-up question was, how big is your GCC? We say we want to come out of a back office mindset and we ask, how big is your GCC? If you ask me, value is not directly proportional to number of people. It will never be. So we have to come out of that mindset. Rather than that, we should ask a better question. What are the functions your GCC have? What is the value you are driving out of your GCC? What are your future aspirations to drive more top line benefit to your parent organization? That would have been a question which I would have liked, not the question that how big your GCC is. So if by that definition, I always give this answer to people that you can say my GCC is 3,000, but I don't see my GCC as 3,000. My GCC is 300 people because those are the people who are working on my payroll. Remaining 2,700 are with my service provider and vendors. Should I consider that as my GCC or not? So that's the open question because I am paying for those employment, but they are not directly belonging to us. So that's something which is a big mindset change. As a leader, as a change maker, we all need to get in ourselves. That only this journey can elevate and that can go to a next level.
Great. Thank you, Sushant. Thanks for the great answer. And the kind of work that these 300 people are doing is amazing. You need to catch hold of Sushant after this panel discussion and ask him that question. But just to take the discussion forward, I would like to come to you, Chirag, for your inputs, and because you are running or you are working out of a GCC. So how has the role evolved?
Right. No, thank you, Mukesh, for the question. So I am part of Mercer, which is into three major business lines. In India, of course, it's mostly known for career, but we also are into health and wealth businesses. And we were discussing earlier, most of the compensation benchmarking that gets done anywhere in the world gets actually done by my team, right? So if you are getting good salaries, I'm happy to take the credit. If you think you deserve more, then again, it's probably because of my team on that, because we do the compensation benchmarking. We own the product. We develop the product, maintain the product, change the product, administer the product, and report out on the product, right? So to that extent, that's what we do globally. For 85 countries that Mercer has presence, out of 115, my team actually does that. Of course, it's not just everything done in India. I mean, I lead the global service delivery, so we've got centers outside of India also, but most of the work that's been done is actually largest team is in India. So we do that. And with the product development and management comes a need for being little more innovative in terms of the way we really deliver our reports, right? So earlier, I don't know how many people are you from HR function, but at that time there was this whole annual compensation benchmarking surveys, right? So that used to be the part, and you get it. Now that's history. I mean, you still do it just to check in terms of are you online, but now more and more the ask is for this particular skill in this particular industry, can you just briefly give it? And your turnaround time has to be in less than a week, right? So you need to have constant availability of data, information on that. And that's where the innovation is moving. How do you try and be more nimble, more specific, and most importantly, more targeted in terms of you? And that's where you need innovation to come through. And that's where the GCC is now shifting to moving, doing work which is more routine and normal to making sure that you are actually owning business outcomes on behalf of your organization, right? So that's where the shift has been happening now.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chirag. And may I come to you, Nilesh, with the same question, especially because ThoughtWorks presents in India and the kind of work you do from here and enabling the GCCs here in India as well. So how has the role or how has the GCCs evolved over the period of time?
Yeah, so I think I've seen both sides of the world. ThoughtWorks being a global digital consulting firm, we have been interacting with a lot of our clients for last few decades. I think the GCC started as a cost arbitrage because the businesses globally looked at IT as an enabler, and India was one of the ecosystem to enable that. Now, if you look at it, like we have to also understand that the businesses are also trying to become take at core business model. So IT is no longer an enabler, and that is one of the driver why GCCs also have to keep up with that speed and move from the cost advantage to being an innovator. That's kind of more of a survival mode for businesses nowadays. And that is one driver. The second thing is, yes, beyond a point now, the GCCs have proved the value of why they exist. The next question is how do you contribute to the larger purpose? So the expectations from headquarters on GCC has been constantly increasing in terms of what value we can add. And I think it is also getting amplified because the confidence that we have built with a couple of success stories that you share, like I think we have been able to provide evidences that the most innovative work can be done out of here because we have ecosystem, we have a talent pool that can deliver it, we have skills that takes such kind of initiatives to deliver. So I think there is an acknowledgement and there is an evidence that the GCCs can deliver that kind of value and that kind of innovation. So we will have to kind of keep up with it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for answering that, Nilesh. And GCCs, just like any other company would have their own maturity life cycle or company life cycle. Some of the companies like the one Sushant represents, they just leapfrog into, from outpost to a strategic innovation center very, very quickly. But anybody and everybody starts just like an outpost to begin with. And the enablers actually play a decent role in getting those GCCs up to the speed and, kind of helping them deliver what they ought to deliver for their parent organizations, right? We had just about 700 odd GCCs in 2012. By 16, they became 1,000, 1,200 plus. Today, they are about 1,800. And tomorrow they are expected to reach about 22 odd hundred GCCs, right? About 100 odd billion in terms of revenue that's about to be posted. So my question in that context is to the enablers, and I have enablers in my panel as well. As a solution provider, what role can you play in strengthening the position of GCCs in tech and innovation? So that being the question, could I come to you, Kamal, to answer that first?
Thanks, Mukesh. And I think, like we were discussing, Hewlett Packard Enterprise is in a very unique position because we're not just the solution providers to our customers, including the GCC, but we also have a very significant GCC presence in India. And like everybody talked about, we've seen it evolve from being a support location to now being part of every product, solution or service that we deliver to our customers. So the value creation within our own GCC is at the cutting edge. And Hewlett Packard Enterprise, of course, we take pride in the fact that we are one of the original tech startups from the Silicon Valley. But what specifically we're able to bring in is because we're able to kind of marry this experience that we have gained out of evolving our own GCC, which now delivers services across 6 continents, into how, let's say, Sushant or Chirag and others are trying to deliver their service, but also bring that consistency of experience, because what they're doing today is not just limited to the 350 people or whatever number of people in their organization here, but is impacting their global operations. So we can give the same experience that we're giving here across to all the locations that they service or they need the same experience, product, solution, or service in. So I think that's what we are kind of trying to do, which is to gain out of our own experience as we evolve our own GCC and we leap forward on that and bring that experience across to our customers to leverage on.
Great. Thank you so much, Kamal. And may I come to you, Raghu, to answer the same question. What role can you play?
Yeah. Am I audible? Thanks, Mukesh. So I represent Nimble Work. We are a work and project management product and platform. And we wear multiple hats, like what my friend said here. We are both a GCC in some sense because we are headquartered in the US. So, but all our product development, product management, all our innovation happens here. So we have 2 centers in Mumbai and Bangalore. So we do everything from here. But more importantly, we are also enablers. So we enable people like you to innovate. So some of our customers happen to be GCCs like you. And also the largest, 6 of the largest IT services consulting outsourcing companies are also our customers. and they use us as their backbone, as lifeblood in some sense, not in some corner in some office somewhere. So we are pretty core to their operation. Now the question that comes to mind is, hey, we are having a session on innovation, and if it is work management, project management, that isn't that, got nothing to do with innovation. That's the general question that should probably pop up in your mind. For which I think I kind of go back to a simple thing. So if you look at the most innovative guys and kind of hear their process, the first thing that they keep talking about is, you need some mental space for innovation. Innovation starts off in the mind. And as they say, the mind is to have ideas, not to keep them. There is a distinction in the two, that having ideas is fine, but keeping them is not very good. So the keeping them part, in some sense, is enabled by us, which then kind of frees up your space to do other innovation. So that is essentially the way we help our customers do that. Let me just give you a couple of examples. So with a very large, well-known IT services company, they had this initiative where they were trying to do, innovation for their customers. Now the question was not very easy, because most of the large companies, not easy to do innovation, as all of you know. So how do you enable that to happen? So we were discussing earlier that at least when they started off with a bottom-up kind of an approach, and to kind of capture the entire portion of the small value adds and innovation that they were doing at the grassroots level, which was then kind of getting accumulated. They had this whole new initiative which was called Be the Next. And this was getting captured at various levels. So in this case, for example, let's say they were serving a Fortune 500 company. So they had a fairly large engagement, let's say about 1,000-man ODC or 1,000-man GCC. The small innovation kind of added up. And we enabled this entire process to happen. The question is, how did we enable this to happen? So because of our platform, we kind of are a system of record. So you have all the projects, all the people, and all that kind of stuff. Then we enable workflows, right? So then you can have workflows. Okay, is this an innovation, not an innovation? Can it get approved? Can it not get approved? By the way, what is the value realized? And does it really qualify as something that can go as innovation? So we kind of enabled that to happen. So that's an example, Mukesh, of how we can, obviously I can go on and on, but...
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Raghu. And may I come to you, Ajay? What role can enablers as a solution provider play in the success of GCCs?
Sure. Thank you, Mukesh. I come from a company called Reinvention. We are primarily an engineering company helping GCCs in product development, data and AI, cloud, and experience design. We are in the leagues of Accenture and Capgemini. Traditionally, the companies have looked into the cost arbitrage and build, operate, transfer model in establishing GCCs. We are moving beyond that. With the companies now not looking at their technology centers and delivery centers as a cost centers anymore. They are looking at their centers as a hub for innovation and experimentation. We are helping the GCCs, tying our hip very close to the center of innovations. We offer a unique model called garage and factory model. We do co-development and co-innovation with them, with the GCCs. What we do is, as part of the garage, we enter into the client's GCC environment and solve a specific technical challenge or business problems. We diagnose the problem and we ensure that the problem is solved, tested, and validated. And then we move into the factory for the enterprise-wide adoption and implementation. So we bring in a Tiger team to solve the problem in the garage, and once it is validated, and we bring a larger team to implement and adopt it for the enterprise-wide. So we work at the scale from the minuscule scale of Tiger team to the larger scale of implementing at the enterprise-wide. And this, what happens is, for the GCs is they were able to launch the products much faster. and they were able to solve the technical problems without going for a bigger budget approval for the leaders, because we bring in our Tiger team to solve the problem. And then we are also able to modernize their platforms to deliver the measurable business outcomes for them. So that's how we are enabling as a service provider with the GCCs.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer, Ajay. And that kind of takes us to the conclusion of the first section of this panel discussion. And we will move now to Indian GCCs embracing emerging tech. Now, if you look at the global digital transformation spends, they are expected to touch about 3.9 trillion US dollars by the end of 2027. And despite that spend, hardly about 30 to 35% of the project actually see value realization or success. So that's the global phenomena. And even GCCs, if you look at, almost about 70% of them are investing in AI today, or agentic AI or generative AI. 78% of them, as per the survey, are upskilling their people. But still, is that good thing, or what actually it is able to achieve? That being the context, I would like to ask this question to my esteemed panelist. As the Indian GCCs embrace emerging technologies, what are some key challenges and opportunities that the GCCs face? And if I could come to you, Sushant.
So a lot of Indian GCC's growth nowadays is driven by AI and GenAI, because when we start doing some small use cases and once they start scaling, that's where the growth unlocks for us. So I'll take a very small example from Circle K. So we do pricing for fuel. So fuel is an unregulated commodity in Western countries. We operate in US, Canada, and Europe. So you have to be clever enough to make that price point for every single drop of a fuel. How do you do that? Because there is a different customer behavior, there are different logistic challenges, and then there's a crude oil. And with this global economic scenario, it becomes even more tricky. So we use AI to try to predict what will be the fuel price. We did that pilot for one country or a business unit that we call in our organization. We started that particular pilot based out of India. It is a complex problem to solve because of a lot of unknowns and nuances attached to it. We were able to do that. And that actually helped us scale our GCC to do that for pretty much every single BU or country that we have in our company. So I see AI unlocking a lot of growth opportunities, and that's how there is a tremendous scope where we see a lot of scope and improvement, and a lot of scope where GCCs can emerge and evolve in that space. Now coming up about, talking about some of the challenges. So we are highly motivated individuals, and as a country we are very emotional. When we see that there is a problem everybody is solving on Gen AI, we should also solve something using Gen AI. There are two things attached to it. One is doing and solving those problems for our learning, because that's how the POC works. That is bottom up. So you do some POCs, random POCs, your team is coming up some ideas, that's great. That will never made it to production. That's why a lot of the companies face that difficulty where a lot of POCs never goes into production. Another is top driven. So exec team or leadership team is telling about that, hey, these are the problems we need to solve. How do you solve it? That is the objective that you should think. We often think about solution and technology first rather than understanding the problem in the context. That exactly is one of the challenges which I want to talk about. Another thing is data. So we think about problem, we don't understand whether data is available or not. A lot of big enterprises faces the challenge of bad quality or a fragment data. So that's a big challenge. So AI can never be successful if you don't have a strong foundation. That's the core pedigree for AI to be successful. Second, I'll say is more about AI adoption. So you have to take people through that journey, that what you are trying to solve, what are some of the biases, what are the conflict, how you are solving that problem. So everybody has to be part of that journey so that you will have that AI adoption better. Third, I'll say is a human aspect, which is more around change management or the talent upskilling. That's very important. We need to make people understand AI is not here to replace the job. It is to augment our thought process. That has to be very important component in my opinion.
Great. Thanks, Sushant. And if I could come to you, Ajay, with the same question.
One of the key challenge that everyone here would acknowledge is the talent, right? Hiring the right talent, reskilling and upskilling the existing talent and retaining them is the biggest challenge for the GCCs. While GCC's predominant focus is to serve their clients and look into their core businesses, of course, they can do an investment on the talent development and management, but that's not the primary focus. And that's where the service providers like us come and play, right? Our everyday meal is talent management and talent development at a scale to do it. That's one of the challenges that GCC is facing. The other one is the scaling and ROI realization. While emerging technologies like cloud has moved on from the experimentation to the large-scale implementation, but still, GenAI projects are still in the pilot stages in many of the organizations, right? The ROI realization of such projects are evident with the clear metrics on the contact center and customer services use cases, but when it comes into the top-line growth, the GCCs are not able to fully realize the benefit of these projects and products. And that's an opportunity for GCC themselves, right? If GCC's leaders can work directly with the business clients and then the product owners and define the clear metrics on the top line growth and work on a rapid prototype on product development and go to the market and launch it and prove the business leaders that the GCCs can do the product development that will realize the benefits of the Gen AI or any emerging technology with the proven metrics on the top line growth, GCs will have a win in the space.
Great. Thank you so much, Ajay. And Nilesh, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, just building on top of the talent point, right? One thing we have to acknowledge that some GCCs were set up for a different purpose, and we are expecting the same workforce to just join this new train and get going. We have to understand where the starting point was and what kind of talent strategy we need to build, borrow, buy, whatever we need to do. But that is one challenge that I think we are not looking at it holistically in terms of what the starting point was and what scale was. Because today, no matter when your GCC started, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 1 year ago, the expectation is that you start delivering the results at the same speed. So we need to think about that aspect, which is, I think, most GCCs are facing a challenge with. The other aspect is making AI as a goal instead of looking at some kind of a business problem as a goal and AI is a means to achieve it. What it creates is, because we are running behind something to deliver quick win, we are constantly stuck into some kind of POC mode, even after 3 years of this wave has begun, right? We need to get out of that and focus on at least one experiment which delivers business result and then scale across the company. Otherwise, the snowflaking will continue to happen and we'll kind of stuck in the vicious cycle of POCs all across the GCCs.
Great. Thank you so much, Nilesh. And both of you have set me up for our next question very nicely. As the GCCs, the number of GCCs that are coming to India keeps increasing. And we also are getting ready with our tier 2 cities to host GCCs. We have Invest UP, they have partnered with us here today. So if the idea is that more and more GCCs are coming to India and we are producing the number of talent in terms of 2.5 lakhs plus graduates every year that are well qualified to work for such companies. GCCs would want to increasingly invest into AI and automation and other technologies. And in that process, they would like to work in a scenario wherein they don't have to make lot of upfront investments. And in that scenario, a thing called GCC as a service also kind of comes into play because for any GCCs to exist or any city to thrive with GCCs, there has to be a complete ecosystem. So this GCC as a service kind of enables that to happen or can enable that to happen. So in that context, my question is, how can tech providers help organizations strike the right balance between outsourcing capabilities and retaining strategic control in-house? And could I come to you, Chirag, with that question first, please?
Right. No, thank you, Mukesh, for that question. So every GCC, I'm sure, will have some sort of an innovation hub in terms of as a setup in their own organization. And of course, Mercer is no different. So we've got 2 innovation hubs in the world, one in Ireland, the second one in India. And of course, India is a lot larger now than what Ireland was. But what we've realized is that you can't do things alone, right? Things because you own the process, you own the delivery, but of course you can't build all the skill sets in-house to really innovate. And the point that Sushant was making, right? If you have to really move beyond experimentation to really delivery, we need to rely on partners. So Mercer is no different. We've actually got couple of partners whom we lean on heavily. One is a tech organization, clearly, so we use their tech specialists, their innovation experts to partner with us to really solve problems, and we've been quite successful, at least on couple of areas where we moved beyond what we call as proof of concepts on the innovation space. I mean, a lot of work that we do involves data ingestion or census. So we have actually moved at an organization a lot in terms of where data ingestion and census gets actually almost automated, right? So that's something that we've really worked. On a more experimentation front, we've actually partnered with couple of universities. One is IIT Bombay, where we really give them a problem and we actually sponsor their hackathons to really try and look at our own problems and where their students can really help us, and that's been quite successful for one of, I mean, we, like I said, it's not just career, we also have wealth. So we are the world's largest pension manager in that. So we've got a lot of student actuaries and stuff like that. So we have partnership with MET business unit, right? So we actually work with them to really try and ensure that they really help us on any actual problems that we are trying to solve, statistical analysis, and they've been quite successful in that. So we don't try and do everything ourselves. We do partner with an external experts to really help us support our implementation.
Thanks, Chirag. And could I come to you, Kamal, with the same question? Balance between outsourcing versus building of the strategic control. How do you
happy to
that?
partner on anything, and happy to take those orders. But let me just kind of split this question into two parts, my response quickly. One is on the services and the infrastructure side, and that's where we're bringing in a whole host of AI capabilities ourselves. And that's what a host of our development effort is focused on, as to how do you bring in AI ops and bring in a whole host of automation so that you have the services, internal services organization move away from a lot of administrative and other tasks and be able to spare more time, more talent for innovation and other activities, right? So every product that we do, every service that we do has that philosophy built in. We are very heavily invested into bringing AI and actually ourselves leveraging that, because we kind of have data points and telemetry from multi-million such devices across the globe and stuff like that. That's one. And the second, which was kind of correlating to your earlier question as well, and this is just an example that I got involved in, is a very large multinational financial services organization. They're headquartered in Europe. Conversation started in Europe about a project that they were trying to do, and they were running into some tech things in terms of that scaling the AI project and stuff like that. And when the conversation developed, our team there figured out that the GCC in India is actually doing most of the work, including a lot of decision making was happening there. And that's when they kind of reached out to me, and we leaned in and got involved. And to what I was mentioning earlier, we could bring in our engineering folks from Bangalore to meet these guys in Bangalore, right? And work together from our experience to actually help them develop that product in the stack. Because there are a financial services organization, they have data regulatory requirements in every country that they operate in. So whatever they do and develop here will need to get independently deployed, but obviously needs to work as a cohesive thing. And that's the cycle that we are able to do for them. So across 4 continents, 4 cities where it's going to get deployed, but the whole stack is getting done, tested, hardened here, and we will be able to then help them deploy it across. So that's another capability that we bring in, and that's becoming more and more relevant in today's world where, like Sushant was saying, the quality of data determines the AI outcome, actually, more often than not. And that, in a lot of instances, is siloed because of multiple reasons. It could be technology reasons or it could be regulatory reasons as well.
Great, thank you. And just because you use the word project thrice, I'm going to go to Raghu.
Thanks for the pitch. So, some of us are old enough to remember this Clayton Christensen's book called Innovator's Dilemma. It came in the late 90s. So his whole thesis is that large companies can't innovate very well because they're stuck with their success. And what that ultimately means is they have their own methods, processes, so on and so forth. And also they will always fund things which are profitable. So, you will only make some incremental changes here and there and things like that. And that's why you will have disruption from smaller companies. I know, Chirag used this word called, nimble and being iterative and so on and so forth. And the spirit of the name of the company, Nimble Work, is actually that, saying that we should be enabling next level innovation. So the way we think about it is the following. What we think is, see, for larger companies, right? And by the way, we have the vantage position of being a startup, so we kind of, and being in Bangalore, and we know what's happening there, and a lot of things are happening there, and that is a very immersive experience. Just to give you an anecdote, Nandan 2.0, right? When he went back to Infosys after the hiatus where he was part of Aadhaar and things like that. So he was working only with startups in the ecosystem. And when he went back, because of whatever changes happened in the company, he actually changed the culture of the company and the way the company worked, primarily because of what he saw in the innovative space happening in the startup. So I'm just giving this context. So what happens is, when you have a large ship, you can't just change it just like that. I'm assume that innovation also happens because of some of the culture, methods, and processes and things like that which are there. Now, that has to be complemented with something new. So you have some assets and strengths which are already there in your organization that you have to take and create some new processes and some new framework for innovation. And with us, where you can create low-code, no-code platforms and workflows and things like that, to collaborate and manage and be able to orchestrate your work, you enable that. So what essentially happens is you take some asset-based execution methods which are already there in the parent organization like Mercer, but have a small process where you work with a GCC for hire or some innovative thing, a startup which is there in the ecosystem. And to monitor that, then you still require some processes which have some connection back to the mothership, but has its own methods and processes. And how does that then get enabled? So that is where we kind of play a role, where you say that, okay, with a low-code, no-code workflow builder, you can quickly put that together. You can take some of the best practices from what you already have, put the new processes which are more relevant for a startup or a GCC for hire, and then go from there.
Great, thank you. And this takes us to the third and last track, evolving GCCs and future landscape, right? So I'm sure all of you must have studied Maslow's hierarchy when you were doing your MBAs. There is a mythological corporate hierarchy as well, which is like Karyakarta, Karta, Yajman, and then Bhagwan, right? So we've seen the initial two tracks, we have seen that the GCCs or the people in India working for GCCs have moved from Karyakarta to Karta already, right? We are delivering strategic outcomes. But what lies in the future is the key question, how the GCC future landscape looks like. And that context, the key question is, how do you balance between experimentation and need for scalable enterprise-grade solution delivering out of GCCs? And with this question, could I come to you, Nilesh, first?
Yeah, I think so going forward, I think we'll have to first acknowledge that innovation and my operations cannot be separate. Because if the more we keep treating these as two separate things, we will continue to have innovation lab sitting in one corner of the office and the operations people sitting, in the other place. We need to merge these two worlds, but it's not going to be easy. It's like the plane is in the air and we are trying to change the engines to modernize it. Because the GCCs are serving a business, we cannot, keep a halt on what they are doing. But we need to look at creating a mindset for innovation that is only possible at scale if we are able to reduce the operational challenges that the GCCs face. So merging these two worlds is one thing that we should do, and treating that as a priority means that we'll have to look at where we are and with data. I think that is one of the biggest challenge, because GCCs do not have that clear evidence on what's my investment going on BAU, the KTLOs, and how much I'm able to spend on innovation. So bringing that clarity with some kind of data intelligence is the first step that I see is a necessity. And then, obviously making innovation at scale means that a larger contribution and not treating it as a one center of excellence doing something and then rolling it out.
Great. And Sushant, if you can just take a minute, how do you balance experimentation and strategic outcomes?
I think there are two tracks attached to it. So one is a innovation track and another one is an industrialization track. So innovation track is sort of a sandbox for you to experiment without the baggage of scaling and working in that guardrail. So that is where the real action is happening. But you should also understand that there's another track which is about industrialization, because once you are building something, you have to scale that globally as well. You must have heard a lot that innovate locally and scale globally. So that's the pretty much same thing, right? That you innovate in an innovation track and then you scale it in an industrialization track, because the real value harness can only be achieved once your solutions are deployed at a global level and they are working at a global scale.
Great, thank you. And if you could also take a minute, Chirag.
Yeah, so I think I think three things will exist in parallel. One we talked about is bottom up in terms of the whole idea thons and stuff like that, right? Which helps in getting small ideas off the floor and making them work. But it also builds culture. That's one. But the real problem solving will happen from a top down implementation perspective. Bottom up will only aid that particular process. What I firmly believe is that, and I completely agree with what Nilesh mentioned, right? Ops and innovation has to go hand in hand, because you don't want to automate waste, right? In terms of, and I'm an accountant, so last thing you want to do is to spend money on automating waste. So what you definitely need to do is to put a process lens before you put AI on top of it. And I know you're going to say what you said, so why don't you say that?
Yeah. So, we wouldn't want to put a, new wrapper on a rotten food.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and that takes me to my last question, which is, how do solution providers support GCCs in creating agile and scalable tech environments that can quickly respond to changing business needs? Because business is changing. In the last few years, we have seen change is happening every moment. It's constant, right? So with that question, could I come to you, Kamal, first?
Yeah, so I think once again, two aspects to it, and one is a very tech and our product solution kind of aspect as to how we're bringing in innovation there. Leveraging AI, and like I was saying, now we are able to do predictive maintenance, we are able to kind of call, we're able to say, hey, you're going to have possibly this problem because we've seen it across, or this is the direction that you got to take to bring in efficiency in terms of what you've deployed. And that's helping significantly, because what we provide as a tool, somebody sitting here or anywhere in the planet can look at the entire piece of infrastructure across the globe and say, I have capacity here. I have a scope here in terms of either performance improvement or in terms of moving some workloads around and do them a lot more efficiently, or a new workload. This is the place that I should be able to deploy because the AI engine is suggesting you. You can obviously override it and stuff. And the other is something which we have created fairly unique, which is to create a private cloud environment for all products and solutions that we have. It's called GreenLake as a branding, but a lot of GCCs, for example, AI is something that everybody talks about, right? So we have something called private cloud for AI, and it's a developer model. It has the full stack, right, from the top layer down to the compute and the network and the storage for people to kind of actually create, test models. It's on a pay-per-use basis. You can scale, and once you scale, you know the stack that you can going to deploy at a global scale, or here in India, or across the globe, across multiple locations, right? So it gives you that flexibility as well.
Thanks. Thank you, Kamal. And could I just come to you, Raghu, just if you can take a minute?
Yeah, so basically, if you see in terms of innovation, agile innovation is what people are doing iterations and so on and so forth. And at the core of what we offer is really this whole methodology or ability to have the infrastructure for agile and lean innovation, because we kind of support that in our application inherently. And all the key tenets of lean startup, as discussed probably about 5 or 10 years back, all of those tenets are supported in the software that we offer that will allow people to do these agile and lean innovations.
Thanks, Ajay. And thanks, Raghu. Ajay, if I could just come to you.
Sure. As a tech provider, as I mentioned earlier, we offer this distinctive solution called the garage and the factory model, right? As part of that model, we bring accelerators, which is our own proprietary products like Nebula, which is to fast track the product development, and Ares to do intelligent cloud operations, and Armor for SRE. We bring these type of tools to ensure that the GCCs have scalable and robust tech environments. And we are not only doing that, we are also making sure that it's a cyber secure proof as well. And our OAI AI framework ensures that these technologies and tools that we bring into the customer environment, those are complying with the ethical AI standards and data privacy, and plus the regulatory guidelines as well. So that's how we ensuring that we are helping our GCCs to protect the tech environment. So, and when we go into the factory, we bring in our industry expert knowledge plus our behavioral science user experience approach to ensure that these are scalable for our clients, right? So these type of solutions, when as a tech provider we are bringing in, it is helping our clients to deliver a measurable business outcomes, and we deliver that in outcome-based model.
Great, thanks Ajay. And that brings us to the conclusion of our panel discussion. We have used all of our time, so unfortunately we do not have a lot of time for Q&As, but all of my panelists and myself, we would be available during the break. I encourage you to come and discuss if you have some points to discuss. Some of the key takeaways that I have noticed is value matters, not number of people, right? So how strong or what kind of outcome GCC is delivering should be judged by the value and not by the people. And of course, you know, bottoms up is just experimentation and learning. If you really want to deliver high impact value out of your GCCs, then it has to be top down use cases, right? And you know, tech enablers give GCCs acceleration and speed. They help you focus on your core, and then the rest of that could be outsourced to the tech enablers. So those being some of the key takeaways that I noticed, and I'm sure all of you have noted some more as well. But I would like to thank all of my panelists for sharing their experiences and inputs, and I would like to thank you all for patiently listening to this conversation. Thank you so much, everyone.